This is the Wild World Podcast. Today we will be debating whether or not a blonde-haired Sasquatch lived around Ontario, Canada, chatting about the history of domestication and if there are more animals we should domesticate, discussing if the Javan tiger is still alive, and much more. Welcome to episode 16 of the Wild World Podcast. I'm your host Thomas from the Wild World YouTube channel, and joining me is my co-host Mika.
Happy April. Did you do anything nice for Earth Day? Did you?
No, did you?
No.
We've got a lot of fun topics today, but first, what's on your wildlife radar?
Yeah, we were together. We hung out in Texas to see the eclipse, and we saw a variety of different wildlife there.
Not just wildlife.
You go ahead. What did you see?
Okay. I mean, we saw a lot of things, but I was referring to, we also saw some trace fossils, as they're called. We saw a dinosaur trackway.
Yes. So we saw some birds. We saw an alligator lizard. In the notes, it says we saw a leopard gecko. And I don't remember seeing a leopard gecko. So is that incorrect, Thomas?
Yeah, I'll find out who wrote that.
Our secretary wrote that. They're going to be fired today. Anyway, we saw an alligator lizard and we saw lots of butterflies. And then we did go to see a dinosaur trackway. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So it's estimated to be around 110 million years old. And the tracks are believed to be left by Acrocanthosaurus, the large carnivorous theropod, and Sauroposeidon, which was a big sauropod.
What time period was that? Like Jurassic, Triassic?
Early Cretaceous. The early Cretaceous epoch lasted from 145 million years ago to 100.5 million years ago. The early Cretaceous.
So it was contemporaneous with what other dinosaurs?
T-Rex? T-Rex is late Cretaceous.
Okay, it was contemporary with Protoceratops. Yes, that's the only one I could easily find. Spinosaurus, maybe? Yeah, so that was cool. What did you think about it compared to other ancient trackways you've seen?
So I've been to one other one that was also with you.
Ones.
Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to dinosaur-specific trackways.
Just ancient trackways.
Okay, I've been to two other ones. One other dinosaur one. The other dinosaur one was Jurassic, I think, because it was Allosaurus and some other sauropod. Apatosaurus, maybe. It wasn't as big as that one, but some of the footprints were more defined, maybe.
Yeah, but it was like really swampy. Like a lot of the tracks were just full of mud and water, and it was like sort of weird compared to the one we saw in Colorado that was just dry and you could like stand in it without damaging it.
Yeah, these ones are sealed off.
And then the one in Ireland that we saw, it was like barely anything, but it was way older. So
yeah, it was possibly the first tetrapod, and I think it's the longest tetrapod track in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just different. Let's see. When we went on the day of the eclipse, which if you don't know, there was a like total solar eclipse that happened across North America a few weeks ago. We went to Texas and we went to a park, and we didn't really see the eclipse because it was very cloudy. But it did get though. Yeah, and then it did get very dark in the middle of the day. Like the automatic lights turned on, and what I noticed as well is that the birds acted sort of weird. Like they're all being crazy, and then they got really quiet. And then when the light came back, they were like flying around, like, "Oh, what is happening?" Like they looked freaked out. I thought
it must be so annoying if you're an animal and you thought you're supposed to go to sleep, and then you thought it was time to wake up. Like,
well, wouldn't you be more also annoyed the other way around? Like you're having a great day, and then suddenly it gets dark, and you're like, I guess I have to go to bed now. I mean, it depends on if they like sleeping more or flying around more, I suppose.
Well, maybe it's doubly annoying.
Or maybe it was fun, and they were like telling their friends, like, did that happen to you? It was crazy. Yeah, they're joining a cult now as we speak, a doomsday cult. And we also saw some other animals in the park. We saw ducks and turtles, and we saw muskrats, right?
Yeah, that was cool. Those muskrats almost seemed like they were like habituated to humans, because they were going, well, they probably are, but like as if someone had fed them or something, because they kept swimming like right up to people.
Yeah, they were big and they were bold, and they had these bright red teeth. That was exciting. I'd never seen a muskrat really before, and then we got to watch them for like 10 minutes almost, it felt like. They were good. We went to the Botanic Gardens and we saw what did we see? A big frog? I don't really remember seeing a big frog, but
I don't know. I think I've got a good picture of him. He had a really big head at least. Maybe his body was tiny.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
His head looked really similar to the actual Muppet of Kermit the Frog.
So we saw Kermit at the Botanic Gardens. And we also, when we first arrived, we saw these weird geese. And we're like, what are those? And it turned out they were Egyptian geese, which are invasive and introduced species. So that was cool.
Big news for you.
Yeah, I finally got a job in my field. So now I actually, you could say I'm a biologist.
Professional biologist.
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, it's true. You get paid to do something, you're a professional.
Yes, I'm moving to the Midwest, and I'm going to be identifying animals that have been killed by wind turbines. Just for many hours a day, just looking at animals that are dead.
It's your dream since you were a child.
That's specifically my dream. But no, it's a good stepping stone to a career, so.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Shall we move on to the news?
Okay.
I'll do one really quick one because it's just an update on a story that we did last time. So there's a lot of hype and excitement a little while ago regarding the thought to be extinct Javan tiger. The hype, however, was that maybe it wasn't extinct. So this comes from a few different things. In 2019, a number of people claimed to have seen one. I think it was 5 people claimed to have seen one at once together. But the most exciting or substantial piece of evidence that came out recently was that there was a hair that was found that was thought to be from this tiger. A lot of articles came up online and videos. The biologist, Forrest Galante, made a video about it. He searched for it in the past. But we were talking about this last time about was the hair really a good piece of evidence? We were wondering, because there wasn't many details on what they did with the hair. Did they do a DNA test? Did they compare structures to a Javan tiger hair they had on file or something? But a new study has come out, and you want to guess what they think now?
They think it was a dog hair. I don't know. Was it something like that?
Well, not exactly, but basically, well, you know what? I'm just going to read the title of the new paper.
Okay.
No reliable evidence supports the presence of Javan tigers. So this is sort of a takedown of the original paper, because there's a lot of problems with it. Apparently, there were, so these are quotes, high mismatches found between the two, quote, Javan tiger sequences generated by the authors, hence indicative of data unreliability, few details regarding the quality control, possibility of contamination, something about mitochondrial DNA, and a bunch of other things. But basically, unfortunately, we don't seem to have any reliable evidence that the Javan tiger is still around right now.
Drama.
Yeah.
I like when scientists get in fights and it's just through the names of their articles, and it's just I'm not gonna hurt you, but you suck. And it's basically what a fuck.
In a very polite way.
Yeah.
Oh well. There's still eyewitness accounts.
Right. Which
scientists
that matters.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's just an update. I think you have a more substantial story.
Yes. So, can you guess what some of the biggest threats to native wildlife in Australia are?
Feral cats.
Did you? You weren't supposed to be reading this. Did you read this?
No, we've talked about this a load of times.
Oh, well, okay, you got it. But I guess there's also other introduced species, probably disease, climate change, fire.
Yeah, well, you didn't let me guess anything else. You just accused me of cheating.
The way you looked at me, it looked like you were no, I'm going to get this one because I cheated.
No, I was haha, because we've talked about this before, have we not?
Probably. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
You're right. Ding, ding. It's feral cats. Okay, we're going to talk about feral cats today. So, how would you solve the problem of the feral cats killing small native animals in Australia?
Well,
what would you do?
You'd probably have to do something about people letting their cats out, maybe fine people, I guess. And then the actual cats, I guess maybe the most humane thing would be to try and spay and neuter as many as possible. And then a lot of campaigns, PSAs explaining why it's a bad idea to let cats out into the environment.
Right. So the biggest problem doesn't seem to be people's pet cats running around and like having babies and stuff. The biggest problem is cats that are already feral that have been that way for like hundreds of years. There's just a bunch of feral cats in Australia. So there are many things that are being done. There's a survival camp for the prey of feral cats in Australia called Arid Recovery. It's a conservation nonprofit in a wildlife reserve, and it's a feral-free safe haven. So it has like a fence. It's sort of like that place in New Zealand where they get rid of all invasive species and keep all native species inside.
I was just about to say, there's a pretty good video. The guy, Wildlife with Cookie, made a video going through that place, actually.
Yeah, so there's a safe haven, but that's just one solution because actually you can't keep all animals that you want to protect in one place, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that they do is they kill cats. Even though people say that's really bad and there are like protests against it and stuff, you can't get rid of all the cats. You can't like adopt them all out, you know?
Yeah, especially if they're...
And if you try to spay and neuter them. Right, and if you try and spay and neuter them, like, they're still going to be killing the animals.
Yeah, you have to wait for them to die.
Right. So what they were doing is they have a few ways to do this. One way is they put poison implants underneath the prey animals that live outside the reserve. So, like, let's say you're a little wallaby or whatever their prey is. They're going to put a little capsule of poison inside under your skin. And when you get eaten, then the cat will die. Because what they found is that only a few cats are doing all the killing. It's like really strong, smart cats, I guess, that are doing it. So they don't need to get rid of all the cats, just the ones that like to kill the endangered animals.
Oh, that's good, I guess. Have you seen how big some of those cats get?
No, maybe.
Pretty huge. Like a lot bigger than your regular house cat anyway.
Yeah, so that's one thing they're doing. They also have a device called Felixer, and it's like a camera trap type technology, but it has a way to tell if a cat is passing in front of it versus another animal. And when the cat passes in front of it, it sprays a gel onto the cat, and the cat licks it off and dies. So it's like, because cats like to clean themselves. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. They also just shoot cats, and they trap cats. But killing cats isn't the only, like, you can't just kill cats. Why do you think that is?
This is still related to the cat problem.
Right. Well, killing cats can't save this population. Why?
Maybe it's because it's just too hard to kill them all.
Right. There are too many cats. You can't kill them all. So another thing they're doing is they're trying to make the prey smarter, because the prey are like really stupid. They're like the dodo, or, you know, they're just like, oh, I love being alive in Australia and I don't care about predators. So they can't keep them in the enclosure either, or in the reserve, because then they get even like less scared of things. So what they're doing is they're making a few enclosures with the prey animals that they want to eventually release, and then they're putting cats in there. And the stupid ones are going to die, the smart ones are going to learn, and then they'll be smarter.
Trying to fast track natural selection.
Yeah, and they're also not always using cats. Sometimes they're using the natural predator of this species, which is the western quoll. Yeah, so they're training the prey to be less susceptible. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I've never heard of something like that before.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Like, imagine that in a human context. Like, if the police were just like, instead of getting rid of that serial killer, we're just gonna
let him drive around neighborhoods, and whoever gets into his car, gonna make sure you never breed.
Right. So it's interesting. It's sort of brutal. I don't think I'd want to work there because I can't kill cats. It would make me too sad. Cats are like my favorite animal. But I appreciate that they are trying this hard, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing about like conservation versus like the individual animal. Sometimes you got to make tough calls.
So that's our wildlife news for the day.
Yeah, we're trying a little bit shorter this time around.
For the modern attention spans.
Yeah.
And that includes me. Today we're going to do a wild chat. I thought it would be a good segue from talking about feral cats to talk about the history of domestication.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much do you know about the history of domestication, would you say?
Not that much. A few broad strokes, I guess.
Okay, well, first of all, do you know the first animal to be domesticated?
Was it the dog?
Yes, that's correct. The dog is like pretty much almost definitely the very first animal to be domesticated by a wide margin, because we domesticated dogs before we domesticated plants. Like when we were hunter-gatherers, we were hanging out with our dogs and they were helping us as hunting companions before we ever thought about settling down and making society.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Dogs are like, we're like this with dogs. I can't, that can't come across the podcast.
She's joining her fingers together
to mean that we are one. Yes.
Yeah. I guess it would make sense that we like domesticated them before we like started farming and agriculture. That is an interesting fact, though. That's like something you'd see on one of those like pop science websites, except it hasn't come out yet. They're too busy saying that sharks are older than dinosaurs.
Right. Oh my gosh, I was listening to this woman, these people the other day, and they were talking, and she was talking about how like she loved dinosaurs or something, and they were talking about how they both had keychains with dinosaurs on them, and then the first one was like, yeah, mine's a pterodactyl. I was just like,
oh no.
I wanted to like turn around and say something. I was like, do you really love dinosaurs? But I did not.
For the listeners, why does that make you cringe?
Oh, because a pterodactyl isn't a dinosaur. It's a just a reptile.
Yeah.
So it would have been more appropriate to have a chicken on her keychain.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how many domesticated animals can you list? Or like, what do you think were some of the earliest ones? Just whatever you think.
Before that, I did glance through this, but I've forgotten most of it. But I think it's important. Can you say what you mean by domesticate? Because it seems like it's a broad term.
So yes, in this, I did make a lot of notes about this. And when I say domesticated, I just mean have been like, we keep them around us. And this can be in various degrees. So dogs, we've been carefully breeding them and they're very faithful and they're not very dangerous to us. There's that end of the spectrum. And then there's just like captive breeding a fish that doesn't care one way or another. And then there's also just like animals that we keep around us that are very violent and could possibly hurt us, you know, because they're not our friends, basically. But I'm also including that in my domestication talk, because they're animals that we control in some way.
Yes. So that would be like alligators and crocodile farms.
Right. But I don't mean zoos. I guess we control animals in zoos, but...
Oh.
Right. Like animals that provide a benefit beyond people looking at them. So really, domestication is a very huge and also unclear spectrum because, well, you'll see that there's a lot of different flavors of domestication. So what are some animals you can name that have been domesticated?
So earlier ones, I'm guessing the horse was reasonably early?
Yeah,
as in thousands
pretty
of
early.
years ago?
Yes, the horse was 5,500 years ago, about.
Okay. And aren't cats like 4,000 years or something like that?
Cats are longer. Cats are 10,000 years ago.
Okay.
So we seem to have domesticated cats pretty much as soon as we started farming, because we had all this grain and we needed something to get rid of the rats. But this is, again, it's a spectrum because how much of it is the cats were just there and how much of it is the cats wanted to be around humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like a mutually beneficial versus the humans actively.
And in some ways, could you say that cats are fully domesticated today, considering that they can easily go out and feed themselves, as we've seen? Maybe some of them are more domesticated than others, right?
Yeah, it's true. What else is it? I know that like some of the early birds, I guess for like farming, so like geese and fowl and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is a big debate. We talked about it earlier on this podcast that one study found geese were domesticated earlier than chickens. It said that domesticated geese bones were found 7,000 years ago from that time, and chickens were the only evidence is that they were domesticated 5,000 years ago. But then when I looked up a whole bunch of articles and Wikipedia and stuff about this today, it was all saying chickens were like 10,000 to 7,000 years ago and geese were 4,000 years ago. It's actually a big fight. It's a big debate. Geese versus chickens. What came first, right?
Yeah. Geese versus chicken fanboys.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just like talk about some of them. So right after dogs, the next thing we domesticated were plants. So some of the first plants we domesticated were lentils, rice, wheat, coriander, and figs. So if you're trying to go for a paleo diet, paleo was before that, before farming. If you're going for a post-paleo diet, I'd recommend lentils, rice, wheat, coriander, and figs.
Do you want the Neolithic diet?
No, it's not Neolithic, right? Farming started. Was it?
I thought it was late Stone Age, isn't it?
Anyway, those were animals to help us on the farm. So that would be goats, sheep, cattle, and pigs. Then came cats. Then we started keeping like geese and chickens. Around this time, 7,000 years ago, while Egypt and China were domesticating geese and chickens, in Peru, they seem to have started to domesticate the guinea pig. It's interesting when I was reading this timeline how some places started so much earlier than other places.
Yeah.
Just because of the necessity of like, some people were living there for a long time while other populations were still traveling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then there's the water buffalo. Then horses are actually pretty late comparatively, but they're not really for farming. You know what I mean? They're just for transportation. So they're not as big of a need as the other ones. Then we have like honeybees 5,000 years ago, reindeer, the silkworm. Now we're starting to get into what uses can we get out of these animals that we hadn't thought of before, which would be like the silkworm. Pigeons, elephants were about 4,000 years ago. And one of my favorite ones is the cheetah 4,000 years ago, which it's one of those like, how domesticated was it, right?
Yeah, because there's like the idea that they were pets or close to being pets.
So another thing that people define domestication as is when the animal has a marked change. So like dogs look totally different than wolves.
Right.
But cheetahs, I don't think they looked totally different than wild cheetahs. They didn't develop a cuter voice or cuter ears or a smaller size. So it's possible that they weren't fully domesticated and just somehow tamed.
It's kind of like
controlled.
Today when people have exotic pets in their home, they're not really domesticated. They're just slightly tamer, maybe.
Right. Then we have like llamas and alpacas, as I said already, ferrets, fallow deer. 3,000 years ago, we decided to start domesticating the leech.
Lovely.
For medicine. We also domesticated the cochineal. It's an insect, and we used it for carmine dye, like the red lake color. That was 2,500 years ago in Central America. Turkeys were quite recent. They were 2,000 years ago in Mesoamerica. So again, this shows like geese and chickens were way earlier than turkeys. Do you remember I saw one thing that people in the plains of North America, they were saying we domesticated horses as well. It's just that they all died out and then new horses came. There have been claims about that. Maybe it wasn't full domestication. Maybe it was keeping in a pen to eat. So anyway, turkeys might have been really late or not. I don't know. Rabbits, snails. Apparently the Romans domesticated snails.
Why don't I see that? Roman memes, they keep popping up on my Facebook.
Big snail fans. Then Japan starts getting into like domesticating things. They domesticate the cormorants, the koi. Yeah, there are some that are very interestingly Japan specific. China is really into, at this time, domesticating a bunch of whatever they can domesticate for pets or for food or whatever. Like they domesticated a special kind of sparrow, the Java sparrow. Japan and China both domesticated the cricket just for fun. And apparently they did cricket racing. China also
heard of that.
Goldfish racing as well. Yeah. Then we get into like for scientific use, lab rats, mink, which are science and fur. We also have like the rise of lots of companion animals, like all sorts of songbirds, etc. So I think like the further back you go, the more you can say they're truly domesticated, like dogs and wheat. And then when you get to like 100 years ago, is a hamster really domesticated? An alligator? Some places have domesticated alligators apparently. I don't think it's real because part of it is the amount of responsibility and trust we're placing in these animals. And another part of it is it just hasn't been long enough. Like, it hasn't been 10,000 years yet, so they haven't changed to trust us enough, you know?
Yeah, it's also that thing, I think you already said this, but like, would it survive in the wild on its own?
Well, a lot of these animals would not survive in the wild on their own. Like, they don't release bears that have lived in captivity. They don't release alligators that have lived in captivity. So I don't know if that's really the line for domestication necessarily.
Yeah, but I guess I mean more as like the species as it is now. Or let's say, does it have a counterpart in the wild that isn't a separate species or something?
Right. Yeah. So there's so many more animals than I really thought about that are considered to be domesticated in some way. It was surprising. And then I realized it's just because there's such a weird line, almost non-existent line between kept as an exotic pet and domesticated.
Yeah. Would an alligator really not survive in the wild?
I don't know. But there are like alligator sanctuaries. So if there are those, like, why wouldn't they just release them, you know?
Yeah, maybe it depends on the individual alligator. I don't know.
Some other things I found that were interesting was that jellyfish have apparently been domesticated and kept for food. Yeah. There's also all the snakes and salamanders and lizards and hawks and fruit flies and...
Ugh. Why
breed fruit flies for science and for food. For food for their animals. If you have a pet lizard or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Many levels. There's also domesticated mussels, domesticated fish. And when I say most of these are just captive bred. What were you going to say?
You need to be careful with fruit flies, though. I can get out of hand very quickly.
Well, I have a friend who used to work in a fruit fly lab, and she had to it had a lot of containment procedures.
Yeah, they probably had like a detonate button just in case.
Like the Andromeda strain, like you have to go in through several doors, and you don't want to bring them out. So now that we have talked a lot about domestication, my question for you is, what animal would you want to fully domesticate if you could?
That's a good question, especially now that we have such a broader definition.
I mean, what's an animal that could already be partially domesticated or something, but you could end up having it like a pet dog?
Okay.
Where you can train it and it won't hurt you and you don't have to keep it in a cage. Okay, now answer my question.
So fully domesticated, like as a pet, like a pet dog almost.
Yeah, like you can trust it completely, and well, I guess you can't even trust your dog completely, but you
That's true.
Like, it has its own personality, but not in a threatening way. It's gonna always be there for you, sort of thing.
Yeah, and this just happened, we'll say magically. Nothing unethical happened to get here.
Right.
I was thinking maybe like a grizzly bear, or some kind of brown bear. Yeah, because they could like play. I could throw stuff for it, wrestle around with it.
That's cute.
And they already like when I saw brown bears, they reminded me, because of course they're related to dogs. So if they weren't so dangerous, maybe that'd be a good answer.
So my top answer for this was the fox. And some people might say foxes have already been domesticated. But I say to this, are they really? So the fox was started to be domesticated about 200 years ago. It was a project in Canada that has been moved to Russia. And there's like this one place where you can go and get your domesticated fox in Russia. And I can't find out a lot of information about it. It's unclear how domesticated these are. I think they're sort of like, they'll pee in your house and it's going to really be stinky. And it's not a very great pet unless you have a lot of free space. So
yeah,
I don't think they're fully domesticated.
When we went to the wolf sanctuary, the guide was saying, because they had a couple of foxes, and he was saying that they're really bad pets because
I thought you said that about wolf dogs.
He said that about wolf dogs, but he also said it about foxes. Well, for different reasons. He said because foxes, if they like you a lot, they'll start peeing on you.
Right. So ideally, full domestication, they wouldn't do that. And ideally, I wouldn't have to buy it from a sort of shady, more or less shady lab in Russia. I just think it would be really great. And think about, like, I know that Russia has bred a lot of different colors of the foxes, but if they were truly domesticated, think how many different patterns they could have. Like, you could have a spotted fox, like a Dalmatian. You could have like little ones and bigger ones, and then we could like cuddle up. And I don't care. Like maybe, I don't care. I don't really have a preference like that. I just want one that's really soft and nice.
I know yeah, a lot of people who like cats also really like foxes.
Yeah, that's your personal experience.
Yeah, I'm just saying because I guess they kind of give off, even though they're dogs, they kind of give off a little bit of a the cat vibe somehow.
Yeah, exactly. But I know that you've met lots of people who fit that description.
Okay.
Yes, I would also, like, it's a very common thing to like cats and also foxes. Like, you can say you're a cat person, but then someone will say, what's your favorite animal? And you're like, oh, a fox. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. But it does to me. I actually wrote a list of a lot of animals I'd like to have domesticated ideally. If I can go for extinct animals, I definitely want a domesticated plesiosaur. I want to be able to like have a little enclosure in my backyard with the plesiosaur in it. And then when it's time, I get on the plesiosaur's back and we like go gallivanting in the ocean. That would be great. For a similar reason, I'd want a dolphin, a domesticated dolphin that loves me and is happy to be near me. I wrote chimpanzee in the sense that I want us to be friends. I don't want the chimp to be like my pet necessarily. I think if you could just fast track chimpanzee evolution so that we're equal species on the planet. Not really domestication. Yeah, think what that world would be like if you could get rid of humans wanting to kill things that threaten them.
Probably shouldn't say fast track evolution though, because isn't that like assuming that we're like the pinnacle rather than just being adapted to their environment?
I want to fast track their brain development and their motor development and their speech development.
I want to fast track getting them to calm down.
Yeah, they'll also be calmer because they'll have a philosophical mind. So that would be fun. And I would like to go back to the days of keeping a pet cheetah. I think that would be really fun. I'd like to have the cheetah, my pet cheetah, race your dog. Your dog would be very depressed.
Yeah, he's not the fastest. He's not even the fastest dog.
He thinks he's really fast. He thinks he's fast, doesn't he? Like when he races you, he's like, ha ha ha.
He purposefully slows down when he races me.
Yeah. So that would be really fun. And then the final thing I thought of that has never been really, as far as I could tell, domesticated in any way or kept in a lab or anything like that is a mountain lion. I think ever since I saw that mountain lion in the zoo, I've wanted to cuddle up with a big fluffy mountain lion and have its huge paws like I don't know. I want to touch its huge paws. So good.
This all reminds me of those scenarios that might be sort of make-believe or fabricated. I don't know. You know, like on the dodo where they're like, this Black Panther was rejected by its parents. It could never go back to the wild. There was no space in the zoo, so we just had to keep it as a pet.
Yeah. I think the difference there is that those are animals that are individually raised. You can't compare, you can't extrapolate to the species as a whole in any way. Yeah, like, I guess that would be the difference between that and domestication. Because you could have a singular mountain lion that likes you, but it's not like it's not like it has friends that are also going to be super into you now and that they're all going to hang out and then...
You go to the park and there's other mountain lions and they're all running up and playing with each other. That
would be so good though. And then the park is by the ocean and then all the dolphins come up and they're like, hello! That's my utopia.
And there's just like a chimp reading like a philosophical book on the beach. Getting involved. He's like talking to his chimp colleagues and his human colleagues, and they're discussing the latest developments on the stock market. They're like, oh yes, I've decided to invest in Apple. Had a catchy name. They're smarter than that. I'm sorry, but yeah. So that would be fun, I think. But it is very bad. You shouldn't try to domesticate these animals by yourself, or maybe ever. And I think domestication is also more successful when the animals like clearly wanted it. Like I felt like the dogs wanted it, the cats wanted it, maybe horses. Well, I don't know how they feel about being ridden, but compared to like pigs, you know, I don't think they wanted to get eaten. Maybe they wanted all the food, and then so that's like I would say a sort of a less successful domestication in this way that I'm evaluating it. And then what other animals like I'm pretty sure gerbils. I used to have pet gerbils. I don't think they wanted to be domesticated at all. They're always trying to escape. So I was like, let me get out of here and jump as far away from you as I can. In that way, maybe snakes could actually be a candidate for like full domestication because they like being around us. They like the warmth. I'm just saying that snakes seem like they enjoy the process of domestication. And I think if we gave it 10,000 years with the same intense care that we gave to dogs, snakes would be totally different.
Maybe not 10,000. That's a lot. Like if given 5,000 years, and we would have a fully domesticated snake, if they're not already fully domesticated, which is hard to say because I don't know it's hard to see what a snake is thinking.
But if you said gerbils aren't fully domesticated because they love escaping, snakes love escaping too.
Right, and so do dogs.
Do dogs love escaping?
I'm just saying that snakes like humans, and I think that they're like the modern comparison to what dogs were like back then, because snakes will seek us out.
Will they? Will a group of snakes follow us for food?
No, but a singular snake will wrap around you if you're warm.
Hey, you're the professional biologist. I'm just some weirdo.
My speculation that it's easier to domesticate animals that want to be there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm just wondering this.
You're just being annoying. You're barely domesticated as it is, but yet you wouldn't survive in the wild unless they dropped you on an almond, like wherever the wild almonds grow. They just drop you in the middle there, or cashews.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have any other animals? Oh wait. So the last set of questions is just what animal are you most glad we domesticated? What animal do you think maybe shouldn't have been domesticated? Just like it can be on a purely selfish level or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of them had a lot of impact on humans. Like horses, probably domestication of horses completely changed our history.
Right.
Was it for the better or worse of humans? I don't know for certain. Maybe for better.
I think humans who can ride horses are cooler than humans who can't ride horses, personally. For example, the Mongols were able to conquer many civilizations because of their horses. Right. But on the positive side, their mastery of horses gave many Native American people a fighting chance against the colonizers. So
yeah,
that's good.
I feel like people probably would have been conquered by other people would have been conquering each other regardless. Probably maybe not to the same extent though. So I guess if we went back in time and didn't domesticate them, then everything would be different. So that's sort of scary.
I want to see a what if movie about that.
What if we never domesticated horses or invented cars?
There's that movie about if the Beatles had never existed.
Yesterday.
Like how all life changed. But this is way bigger.
Yeah, this is so much bigger.
Yesterday, the sequel, what if we'd never domesticated horses? It would be called Nay. Nay.
We get all the same cast back, the same director. And the interviewers are like, yeah, we're not really sure, but I guess we were contracted into doing this.
Right. Horsepower. It wouldn't be called horsepower. It would be called probably oxen power. Anyway. What about an animal? Let's see. For me, the animal I'm most glad we domesticated are cats, because I think cats bring so many people joy, and the cats are like having a good time not having to hunt. So I think that's really good for them, but not the cats that are feral. Boo to them. Yeah, but I feel like happy house cats are a very good outcome of domestication. And what about you? What animal do you think shouldn't have... what animal do you think shouldn't have been domesticated? One animal.
One?
Or
whatever
you want.
Whatever one had the least benefit and the most suffering to the animal. Because you could say rats, but then there's probably a lot of benefits to humans, so it's sort of tricky.
Well, rats were originally domesticated, as far as I can tell, for labs, which that's really, they're not. Oh, you're saying you don't think they should have been domesticated. You're saying they're your answer?
Well, I'm saying, is it like lab mice and lab rats probably have helped a lot of discoveries to help humans?
Oh, yes.
Then they suffered, so it's, I don't know, that one's tricky. I'm trying to see which one suffered but didn't help anyone.
My answer for this is mink, because not only have they suffered for maybe some meat and maybe some science, mostly they're just kept in captivity for like no reason. Plus they got COVID and they started dying, and they also are an invasive species and they're hurting other animals in Europe. And this is like all for nothing. It's so pointless to me. So I would say mink is my answer.
Yeah, I guess mink is the best.
Yeah, but also there's like the animals that they're small pets and they're not doing anything. Like they're just for kids to enjoy keeping a pet, which would be like hamsters and goldfish. I think hamsters and goldfish, when I compare the happiest goldfish in a bowl to the happiest dog, there's a huge difference there in how we treat pets. So I think that's sort of a pointless pet.
Maybe if you had a pond for your goldfish, but how many people have ponds?
Oh, I have a pond for my goldfish, but I don't know how happy they are.
Probably happier than ones in the bowl.
Well, they're very
Maybe, I don't
terrified of snakes and birds. So, but I think all fish are terrified of snakes and birds.
Yeah. Well, I thought your fish weren't terrified, and that's why they're getting eaten by them.
Lately, I've been trying to feed them and they like run away or they swim away. They're afraid. They have depression and anxiety. But I'm sure they'll be better when the plant growth comes back because I think my dad just cleaned it and got rid of lots of the plant cover. Okay. So let's move on to Cryptid Court. We did a poll and the winner was Old Yellowtop, also known as the Wild Man of Cobalt.
Yeah.
So I think we should do a debate today. And Thomas is very pro. He loves the Wild Man of Cobalt. And I am going to say that there is no such thing.
Okay, so brief description. Old Yellowtop, you can basically think of him. He's Bigfoot or Sasquatch that was seen around the town of Cobalt in Ontario, Canada, about 7 feet tall, like most Sasquatch. The sightings of him go all the way back to 1906, spotted by miners working at Cobalt, where they have silver mines.
And why is it called Old Yellowtop?
Oh, how did I forget? Because he has like a blonde patch of hair on top of his head.
Much like you.
I'm significantly smaller than Old Yellowtop, though. Yeah, then the next sighting was in 1923 when other prospectors and woodsmen saw him, or claimed to have seen him. Initially, they thought he was a bear, but after throwing a stone at him, he got up and ran away on 2 legs. So, like, we'd never seen a bear like that. Seen in April 1947 by a woman and her young son along the railroad tracks in Cobalt. She said this was no bear, wolf, or any other creature she was familiar with. Walked on 2 legs again, almost like a man, but was entirely covered in brown hair, except for its head that was yellow. That was blonde, I mean. And then the last time it was seen was in 1970. That's probably the most impressive sighting because it was a bus driver, but also a bus full of passengers. So 27 miners that were being driven to the Cobalt mine, I guess. It was at night. They were working graveyard shift, I guess. And the creature walked across the road in front of them, causing the driver to lose control. He nearly crashed. Again, at first I thought it was a bear that was in the headlight, but then when it was in the headlights, I saw its big shoulders, it was walking upright, and they saw the blonde hair contrasting its dark fur. So it was seen for about like 60-something years, and then it, I guess, died, or yeah, probably died.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because it's not like a cryptid. It's just one guy, one animal, one specimen. Usually cryptids we think of as like a population because we're trying to prove that we're trying to see if they are a real animal. But this is one thing. It would be like, I don't know. It just seems so different to me and almost pointless to debate whether or not this one specimen existed. Because really, it's just the bigger question is, does Sasquatch
exist? Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, yeah. And if it does, then a slight variation is perfectly fine, I think.
Yes.
So can you please prove to the audience that Sasquatch does not exist?
Well, going back to specifically Old Yellowtop, interestingly, after even the biggest sighting by the bus people, it was regarded by the locals and the newspapers as a miner's prank. I guess miners were known for pranks. And it was also could have just been some weird drunk guy or a stumbling bear. And again, because it just happened like for 60 years. It's not a lot
adds credibility to it, I think. If it was going on till today, then you'd be like, well, no single primate-like animal is going to be in the wild. It's going to be over 100 years old.
I guess so. I know it does give more credibility to the idea that there was this one thing, but it's, I don't know, it's like inconsequential. It's
the you said that like the hoax thing, but that was like from one local paper. The journalist said like something like really dismissive. It was never like proven to be a hoax or anything. No,
I didn't say it was proven to be a hoax, but I don't know. I think it's just a little novelty thing that like maybe it was just a weird bear with a yellow top that people talked up to be a Sasquatch type creature.
Okay, here's the sort of interesting thing, though, that this happened pretty early on. There's a photo, an alleged photo of old Yellowtop from like 1920 or something, which would make it the first photo of a living Sasquatch.
Yeah, I did see that it happened before Sasquatch became a thing.
Yeah. Because I think the word Bigfoot wasn't even coined until like 1956.
Right.
And that's when the whole like craze or whatever sort of started. So this was a good time before that.
Well, but maybe it's just like some blonde guy wearing a fluffy coat. Like back then, people wore full furs more often than they do now. It's a hunting sort of forest community.
And he's just standing in the tree line and someone's just taking a picture.
Yeah, he's just like going for a walk. He's a bit eccentric.
I want to pull up the picture for myself again. It doesn't really look like a man, though.
You know that photos were manipulated back then as well.
Yeah, but it's a bit trickier to do.
I don't know. It's just like there's not very much evidence because it only lasted 60 years. It's just one specimen. If you want to prove, like, if you can prove that Sasquatch is real, sure, maybe this guy is real too. That's not
Sasquatch isn't real.
That's not what this Cryptid Court is about. So, given that and the small amount of evidence, I don't see why it has to be what they say it is. But there is an interesting case of a similar sighting in Labrador, which is also northeast Canada.
Yeah, Bigfoot territory.
Of a creature like that with a white or blonde hair on top of its head. So it is interesting to think that maybe it's something that happens sometimes to Bigfoot. They get that on their head. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I don't have any real compelling reason to believe that it's not either a bear in some cases or some weird guy in other cases.
All right. Well, this debate isn't really going anywhere, so I don't know. Let us know what you think. I do think, like, I'm always skeptical about stuff like this, but the fact that it's older is interesting. That's, I think, the most interesting about it is that it's before.
Well, another thing that
I'm not saying that means anything. I just think it's...
Another thing I noticed about the biggest evidence story is that they're driving a bus. It's about to be the graveyard shift, so the light isn't probably very good.
It was at night, yeah.
Yeah, and he sees the creature and immediately like swerves and everyone almost dies because they almost fall off the cliff. So what recall does he really have and everyone else in the bus? Like, how accurate can he be about what he saw? Because when you see an animal on the road, you don't have time to be like, that doesn't look like any bear I've ever seen. Like, you don't really have the time, and you're probably colored by the fear that you felt in that moment as you're swerving on the road. So if that's the best sighting, I don't know about that.
Well, I think you made a lot of good points. I guess a counter argument would be, well, not a counter argument. The only reason I'd say that would be the best because there's a lot of witnesses.
Yeah, a lot of witnesses that were all screaming in fear. And then it's really hard to see things from the back of a bus, okay? Like, to see something on the road.
That's why he swerved it so everyone could see it. Take a look at this, boys.
Usually when I was on, like, in a larger vehicle with people and they saw something on the road, I could never see it. Because it's like, I don't have time to go that way.
Sometimes you don't even see things from the passenger seat, like a boar.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think all those points, plus if you're already primed, know of this local story about Yellowtop, it would be very easy for people to mistake a few second sighting at night under very stressful conditions.
Yeah. And people in 1906, those mine workers, they were up to no good all the time. They were like, I don't even have any details about that sighting really, but just some mine workers saw Yellowtop. Like, okay.
I think the first one, there was two of them and they saw Yellowtop staring at them from the tree line, which is a bit creepy.
Well, yeah, like that could have been a bear.
Yeah. Could have been a man.
So it could have been a weird man. So they see this weird man or bear and then they tell everyone. Everyone's like, oh, Yellowtop, haha, interesting. And then the prospectors, yeah, I guess the part where he says he had never seen such a bear, that would be the most compelling for me for the prospectors in 1923, but still.
Also, apparently there's a lot of like ambiguity around the photo and like who actually took it and when it was taken and other things like that. Could potentially.
I think you're old Yellowtop, as I've already said.
Not that old.
Well, you could be
standing trees staring at my ears.
That sounds very bad. It's a good thing you said you don't do that.
Oh, Jesus. So, as in people mining for silver. I'm just going to cut that part out.
So, what do you think? Who won the debate? Is Old Yellow Top real, or is Old Yellow Top a fake and fun story, or something in between? What do you think? Prove to us if Sasquatch is real while you're at it.
Good luck.
Do you want to go on to Q&A?
Yep. So, if you would like to email us,
go ahead and email us with your questions, comments, memes, concerns.
Don't send too many concerns.
At
thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com, thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment under the YouTube video. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we didn't really get any questions. We just got memes from Calvin. So on the YouTube, Thomas will put them up. The first meme is about the cat tier list, and how ours wasn't very good. So, okay.
Yeah, I'll describe it. So for those who don't know, Calvin the Carnotaurus is also a YouTuber, and he also does podcasts. He did a cat tier list, and we made like a response, even though his was already a response. But the meme is, it's like a what do you call this? A yearbook?
Yeah.
And it has Daniel, and then instead of a profile picture, it has our cat tier list, and then it has the cooler Daniel, and then it has Calvin's cat tier list.
Which, yeah, his cat tier list was probably better, but I just disagreed with some of the stuff on it, and that's why I made my own. It really had no effort put into it at all. Yeah, by me anyway. Mine had no effort, is what I'm saying. Mine have reflected my opinions, but had no effort or research. Theirs probably had more effort and research, just, I don't know, but it did not reflect my opinions, so.
Yeah, I mean, they set out some pretty objective criteria right at the beginning.
Mine was like an op-ed. Yeah, it was like an op-ed by some amateur journalists. Theirs was like an article in a newspaper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's comparing apples to oranges. It's comparing a fun short story to a novel, okay? Thank you.
You sound like... Do you not like this meme? I think it's pretty good.
It's fine. Next one is The Perfect Trilogy Doesn't Exist, and it has a response to Megalodon evidence. Why do people think Megalodon is alive, and what killed the Megalodon? 3 Wild World videos.
That's very kind of you.
But I do think The Perfect Trilogy exists, and it's called Avatar: The Last Airbender original cartoon series. Yeah. Also, there is Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials. That's a pretty perfect trilogy. Excuse me? What?
I feel like the second book might not be perfect.
Well, but it's a good trilogy anyway.
It is very good, yeah.
Because the third one wraps it all up, so. Anyway,
Yeah.
Next is, you can read this one.
So Calvin typed into Google pictures of Mika from the Wild World podcast, and the first result was Chat GPT.
Right. Because that's a picture.
Oh, no, actually, yeah, well, it has all, though. It's not on images.
I know, but it's not very convincing. Why would you be using Chat GPT? I'm obviously not Chat GPT. I'm probably something way more advanced.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Mika is an AI, apparently.
Maybe I'm the Snapchat friend bot thing.
Maybe.
Because you can give it whatever name you want, and then you can, like, I think you can pick how it looks. Or I'm that, like, weird app that you can make your, like, friend you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like there's ads for it, and it's like the first level before it gets to know you is like just generic, and then it gets to know you better, and it's not good.
I was thinking more like I was typing in on a document and that little paperclip came up. Like, can I help you?
Clip.
Yeah, no.
He's not very. He doesn't know a lot of words. Like, he only knows to say a few things.
Well, that's because you didn't hit the speech function.
Okay, well, next one is, I like this one. It's called, he typed sexiest man to ever live, and it's just a picture of the fishing cat, which is very true. I mean, I wouldn't say sexy, but they're very cute.
Yeah, cutest man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, look at him. In the first picture, though, his eyes are a bit close together. But
I recognize that second picture because it's in the music video.
I love fishing cats. I want to domesticate a fishing cat.
Yeah, I forgot about the fishing cat.
And then it can catch me fish and I can eat it.
I think he's making a video about fishing cats. Calvin Carnotaurus.
Be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah. So I'll go subscribe to him.
So yeah, the comment with these memes are, oh, well, we already said that. He also sent another one. Hi, Thomas and Mika. I thought I'd send you a lion versus tiger political compass I made where you place yourself on where you think the outcome goes. The vertical part with the YouTube channel name represents your level of knowledge on the topic. Hopefully you enjoy it. Did you figure out what this means?
So I did send him a message on Twitter, but he's probably asleep right now because we're all in different time zones. But so I'm sorry if we messed this up, but I think so. Creature Challenge is someone he interviewed maybe last week on his show. He does a lot of animal versus videos, and he's like a biologist. He goes to like Kenya and South Africa. He goes on like a lot of safaris and stuff, and he does a lot of research.
Wild Sciences? I don't know.
I think is considered not as well researched. I don't know. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but I think that's maybe the consensus. So I guess.
See. So we place ourselves with what we think who would win between a tiger and a lion on this axis, right?
No, I think the vertical axis is for our knowledge, where we rank our knowledge.
Right. And we place ourselves on this graph with who we think could win between a tiger and a lion based on how much we know about the topic.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, okay, I have an answer for this.
Okay.
I think a tiger would win because lions hunt in packs, and I like lions, but my research into this is zero, based on feelings and that one video you made.
Whoa, don't throw me under the bus.
No, I'm just saying, like, your video was very inconclusive.
Right.
So I would say, like, on the x-axis, 1 to the left for tiger, and then down to, like, Q, because I really don't care about this topic. I don't think it's relevant, or I don't think there's a point to pitting lions and tigers against each other. I do favor tigers because, like I said, they're not used to hunting in groups, or so they have to stand on their own more. And also, I just like them. But like I said, I didn't do any research on this. And Thomas's video was pretty clear that it's almost a draw. It's basically a draw. So I'm in the green quadrant.
Okay. So, in terms of... So wait, what did you say you were?
I know, I was 1... Oh, 1 Q.
1 Q.
To the left.
Okay. So I guess I would say maybe 1 to the right.
Oh.
I don't want to be too full of myself.
B.
J or I?
Not B then.
There's so much more to like read and learn about them. Maybe J.
Okay. Very well.
Do you want to know why, or just move on?
Yes, tell me why, please.
Okay, so I do think it's very difficult to say for certain between the two, and the other thing is, as I explained in the video, people are very biased. There are YouTube channels that are just dedicated to making hundreds of videos about why a lion would win, or hundreds of videos about why a tiger would win, and they hate me as well. But anyway, so it's hard to find like non-biased people, but Calvin and Creature Challenge talked about this on their podcast, and I watched Creature Challenge video, and he seemed pretty like neutral. I don't think he's a fanboy, and he's a biologist, and he studies lions and tigers. And sorry to spoil this, but they also said this on the other podcast, but he slightly favored an African male lion versus a male Siberian tiger in open plains. And he gave like a lot of reasons. You can watch his video as to why. So he gave it like with extreme difficulty. He thought the lion might win.
Okay. So, I really don't care. So
yeah, I know. I don't really care that much, but I know a lot of people do. So that's
those
slightly favor.
Are wrong. If you're a lion or tiger fanboy, get out of here. You're not welcome.
Mika, like a week ago, I said, "Why are you a tiger fangirl?" And instead of arguing, you just explained why you were.
Well, I'm not the kind of person who's gonna like put down lions and say that they suck and that I think they should all die and that like it would 100% always be a tiger in any fight. Like that's just not my opinion. I just think that tigers are aesthetically nicer. I'm bored by African plains because I think they're like overrepresented in adventure. Like they're an adventure trope. I think jungles are more fun because they're like more mysterious and misty. I think tigers have a cute face and lions have a boring face. I think lions' manes look really scratchy and not nice to hug. And I think that male lions are too
macho, as you always
and
say.
lazing around. I mean, I know they're not lazy, but just like compared to a tiger that does all its own hunting, whether it's male or female, it's just not my jam. Like communal living for cats. So
yeah, it's just that term carries the connotation that you're really into the debate of who would win the other. And
I didn't realize that at that time because I hadn't seen your video about lion and tiger fanboys.
Okay, so the final part of do you want to do the comments? No.
Yeah, so we have I pulled some comments from the YouTube section, the comments sections, and I have you didn't look at them, right? I didn't block them out this time. Don't look at them. Okay, so the first comment that I looked at, tell me which video this is from. It says, yeah, the porcupine pulling in R. Kelly is not romantic. Not sure how that made the list. Otherwise, great job.
That's our video, most romantic animals.
Yeah, and this comment really annoyed me because the point of the that ranking wasn't like all the animals I think are most romantic. It was saying which animals are and aren't romantic.
Right.
So
it was giving the like extremes. Yeah.
So this person has very they didn't comprehend that part of the podcast very well, I think. Anyway,
I'd be listening to this one.
Yeah, and I welcome your comment. It better be a better one.
Okay. You're so willing to like throw down with the fans.
They like that.
I probably do.
So the next comment is, I'd watch Snakes Under a House.
Oh, that must have been one of the earlier podcasts we were talking about the pythons that fell through that person's ceiling.
Yeah, and I guess we like came up with a movie idea about the sequel to Snakes on a Plane called Snakes Under a House.
Yeah. We haven't come up with a movie idea in a while. I can't remember.
Did. We just had our sequel to yesterday about if we had never domesticated horses.
Oh yeah.
Called May.
Just getting better every time.
Yeah. But I would also watch Snakes Under a House. I mean, especially if I produced it. It would be really good. And it's sort of like Crawl, because Crawl is about an alligator under a house.
It could be a load of king cobras or something.
Right. Okay. Next comment. But lion goes burr and tigers go skurr.
That's gotta be the lion versus tiger video.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I think it's just like, I don't know, non sequitur. I think it's just someone joking like, I don't care about this. So they're just saying something like random. Okay,
final one. It quotes a timestamp, 11:58. If it existed, we would probably have seen signs of its existence. The stories of the Kraken throughout centuries. Am I a joke to you? Crying, laughing emoji.
Wait, what?
Do you know what that's from? What?
If it existed, we probably would have seen signs of its existence.
This is a quote from your video. This is a quote. If it existed, we would probably have seen signs of its existence. Then their response in the comment is, the stories of the Kraken throughout centuries. Am I a joke to you?
It's like a Megalodon video?
Nope.
Wait, no. That is my quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this the giant squid video?
Yeah, it's how big do giant and colossal squid get? What do you think about that? Do you agree that
the Kraken originally wasn't a giant squid? It was like a completely different kind of monster.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. It's like something else. I forgot what it is.
Yeah.
Sort of how sirens were used to be. They were originally like winged bird, weird monster ladies, and then they turned into mermaids, and that's totally different. What did the original Kraken look like? Oh, it used to be like a crab
Yeah, I
or
think
a
it-
whale.
crab or a whale. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and we've known about the
Wow.
giant squid for over 100 years, and maybe longer. But it's this big silly thing. It's like I hate when I see that on the encrypted forums and stuff. Like, has there ever been a cryptid that was proven to exist? It was discovered.
The colossal squid.
No, the colossal squid is more recent, but not within the last. It's like
I thought
1950s maybe.
I thought people didn't believe that it existed, and then it was discovered.
I don't know. I think we've had partial remains for many decades.
And the coelacanth. And dinosaurs.
What dinosaurs?
People were like, dinosaurs, and then no one believed them, and then they found all the bones.
Yeah, that definitely didn't happen.
Well,
Someone
some of
coined
them.
the word dinosaur before they had any fossils.
No, but it would be like they found some, and then people probably thought it was like they thought it was a hoax or dragons or something, and then they found more and more until it became public knowledge that dinosaurs exist. Did.
Okay. What does that have to do with Kraken and the giant squid?
I thought we were talking about cryptids that some people said were real and other people disagreed, and then.
Okay, but dragons aren't real though.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, anyway, I don't know.
I'm not really sure what I'm debating, so I'll just.
I bet people thought orangutans were fake too.
Yeah, I think that. Well,
Pretty sure
gorillas.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I
That
heard
they
about
thought
that.
orangutans were like a made up story, like red furred men in the forest. No way. And then they actually saw them. Like, oh,
Same with gorillas.
giraffes.
Yeah, and giraffes.
Giraffes were a cryptid.
Well, I guess so. I feel like this would be a very long discussion about what is and isn't considered a cryptid.
Giraffes are real.
Platypus.
You might not think so, but giraffes are real.
And on that note, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you're watching it somewhere else, no problem. Just share it
They'd
to all
be
your
listening
friends.
to it. They'd be listening to it, not watching it.
Sorry, did I say they're watching it somewhere else?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm very dumb. If you're listening to this somewhere else, if you can rate it, please do. And if you can know someone who might enjoy it, please send it to them.
And if you have any comments, concerns, questions, or memes, please send them. We were going to have a meme competition, but only one person sent us memes, so.
The winner of this week's podcast meme competition was Calvin the Carnotaurus, also a
no
YouTuber.
competition.
I did want to say, those are good memes though, and they were all on brand. Isn't that cool? They're all about us and the channel.
Right, one of them was sort of mean, though.
It is a better video. I liked all the memes. Because I was afraid we'd get like some, I don't know, like really political meme or something from someone. I was like, oh, I don't know if we could show this. So yeah, thank you for your memes. Yeah, so thanks again for listening, and I guess we'll catch you next time.
Bye.